dude, I remember my last contract, dude. I'm such an idiot. I think I threw like Red Sox tickets in there. I was like, I want to be in the suite for, oh my gosh. My boss called me and told me to like basically fuck myself. He's like, you know what I mean? Like, I was just throwing obscure things, dude. And so I don't recommend that. I learned that. But I think, you say what you want. You definitely have to be prepared. If I learned anything at Yale, it's like you have to be very prepared. It is that time, episode 17 of the It's Always Something podcast, produced by Hurley, my guy, right there. And what do we call it? Our pal portrait?
Our pal portrait.
Yeah, I put a little visual up if you're watching on YouTube where me and Hurley are just going to be in different locations every week. And so, yeah, recorded here in Boston. Also produced by Big Night Media. We're not going to describe the picture right now.
We don't have to know.
No, it's irrelevant.
Think about it. Yeah,
it's irrelevant.
It's popular fast food chain, and it's plant-based.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Easy peasy. My name is JD. I am the host of this show, and the only reason why I'm here is because I haven't won Vax Millions or whatever through Massachusetts. If you're vaccinated and you registered, you can win $1 million.
Yeah.
Right?
For like the four weeks too. Or it's like they have a new winner every 4 weeks.
Yeah, they're doing a drawing every week. And I'll tell you what, if I won that, I wouldn't talk to you. I wouldn't talk to anybody.
What would you buy? What's the first thing you'd buy?
I think a boat.
A boat? Yeah.
And I think boats are the hardest thing to drive. So I don't know why I would get a boat.
And a captain? You'd hire a captain as well.
Probably a driver. That'd be a good investment. I probably just would never drive again. I would just get a black car and just let it ride, pun intended, for the rest of my life or however long that would get me. Yeah, I wouldn't talk to anybody. I'd lose all my friends.
That's good to know.
That's good. Thank you. I'll write that down here, sir. I'd probably buy my mom or dad something, and then I would just poof. I'd be off the face of the earth. Because then everyone's just going to ask me for money, right? And I feel I watched an interview with Meek Mill, and he was talking about like how people are asking him all the time for money. He goes, I wasn't the person you asked for money before I had money, like, so what makes you think that I'm that person now? That I can just like help out everyone. So that's what I would be super concerned with, because no one asks me for money. Mm-hmm. So what I'm basically saying is I'm giving you the blueprint. If you start asking me for money now, there's a great chance that when I win Vax Millions, that I might be able to spare you a few bucks.
There you have it, kids. Always ask your friends for money just in case they win Mega Millions.
Just in case.
So then it just doesn't look like you're freeloading.
That way you're consistent. Other than that, fuck out of here. By the way, merch still doing incredible. My best line yet. You can go to bignightshop.com and buy you some fuck out of here merch. It literally is just going to it's going to sell out. Like, I think we only have a few sizes left in the hoodies, which is just...
That's awesome.
Which is just chef's kiss. Mwah. It's just so easy. I knew simple and stupid would sell. But listen, man, this has been a pretty fun venture. We're 17 episodes deep. And I was asking myself the other day, would I ever go to work again in an office? And the answer is no, because being unemployed for the last year and basically being retired has been way too much fun.
Really?
I mean, it's amazing. I get to golf all the time. I basically live the same life that my dog does, or your typical house cat.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good. I'm still getting some bread here from the government. In English, I'm getting some money. So I'm staying afloat. It's been quite a treat. But it's funny that I brought that up, because this week's episode is going to be based around work. I'm going to have to dig deep in the crates to remember what it was like to be employed, man. I'm going to have to take it back to the old school and wave my hands like I just don't care. And I asked people, I feel like I have to have some kind of respected pedigree at some point, at least being in radio 12 or 13 years, moving locations a few times. I'd have to feel like I'm a R-list celebrity. I'm definitely not in the first half of the alphabet nor the middle, but I feel like I get to do some pretty cool things in my life, and I've been able to create and conjure up some kind of success. I feel like an R-list celebrity is the right letter. Would you agree?
The amount of A, B, and C-list celebrities you've gotten to meet has boosted up your letter.
Right.
Higher.
Yes. For every Lil Jon I meet, I bump up a letter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every
so
legend
by next
I meet.
year, you could be.
Who knows?
Actually, I don't know the alphabet well, so I'm not going to say a letter.
We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But yeah. So I mean, I do get asked as far as like, especially in the radio world, and please, for the love of God, do not call me an OG yet. It's not a bad thing, but I understand I'm 33, but you know, I do have a lot of people, especially in the radio world, you know, whether they were interns or they're, you know, going through the different stages of their life right now and on-air stuff about, you know, my experiences and different advice I have for them. And, you know, I think the conversation we're going to have right now doesn't necessarily just translate to radio, because there's a lot of real world experiences that I've had to go through that I think a lot of people do. And listen, I don't want this isn't going to be like a very serious episode. I just want to have a business casual conversation about it. You know, maybe, you know, if you're wondering about, you know, the potential of you're going to be moving cities or starting a new life there, standing your ground when it comes to knowing your worth, or, you know, what sacrifices you have to make to achieve something, maybe some negotiating tips, because I clearly went to Yale, got my online degree there in negotiation, and I feel like a lot of people could maybe benefit from a few jewels there in that department. And if Hurley has any questions, we can go down that road. But I mean, let's just have like a casual conversation of you know, just business shit.
Yeah,
you know, and I took it to IG and Twitter and asked for our supporters. You know, the people that have just been so loyal, or maybe who haven't, you know, subscribed but tune into whatever episodes they want, the outskirts, you know, what advice they would want. And it could be anything. It could be daily motivational stuff. I don't know. And I'm not a motivational speaker neither. So I'm just going to kind of kick it to you how I see it.
Okay.
So, and I will say, doing the question thing on Instagram, huge mistake, because it's just like the responses that I got back right away. I like literally debated just taking it down, because the first response I got, I was like, hey, if you want any work or motivational tips or whatever. I hate the word motivational. I'm just not that guy. I'm not trying to be Gary Vee.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to kick you some realness. So the first response I got when I was like, hey, let me know what tips you would want, or if you have any work questions, someone said, I'm not taking no tips from yo broke ass.
Damn.
Was like, great start. Very fair. I understand it's, there's been a whole lot of cereal bowls in my household, a whole lot of cereal being poured, but I'm not broke. I think I'm rich on the inside, which is really all that life should be about. Like, okay.
Well, I apologize for writing that answer.
Well, I should just air that out there, man, whoever that was. Oh, I know who you are. But let's go through this, okay? So I did get some awesome questions, and then I got some people that texted me some awesome questions. And before we begin, here's what I need you to remember. I'm not shit. It is very clear that I get that out there. I'm a huge fan of what I learned in high school. It was called the 3-question rule. Who are you? What do you do? Why should I listen to you? You know what I mean? Like, so if you ever have like a guest speaker, my teacher at the time would be like, listen, every person that I'm going to be bringing in here can answer those 3 questions. Who are you? What do you do? Why should I listen to you? Mm-hmm. And I thought that's great. So hopefully you can answer those questions when it comes to me, because you're obviously listening to the podcast. So you've already started. So you clearly are coming here for something.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to explain to you what I know through my experience, and you can take this information however you want, how you can apply it however you want. I'm not responsible for your actions. I'm 33 years old, so I'm sure everyone has a fucking opinion about whatever I'm going to say. All I can tell you is what I know. So, with that said, let's dive in. So, where do we start? Someone hit me up and was like, where do you think you learned your work ethic from? I believe it is just in the family DNA. My grandpa started a church in Michigan that is still going strong, I think, over 65 years.
Wow.
Got a letter from the president handful of years back.
Wow.
You know, it was one of those establishments, they had to like pry him away to retire. He just refused to not stop working. So I know my grandparents worked really hard. I know my mom and my dad are probably two of the hardest working people I know. I feel like everybody says that. My mom and my dad are the hardest working people I know. It's true, at least that I can see with my eyes. And I'm surrounded by people who work really hard. I feel like the people all around me are just, they're go-getters, and that is highly motivating. And I think, you know, like my mom's a court reporter, so she does like all the typing and stuff in courtrooms.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So she owns her own business doing that joint. She used to grade all my papers in college. Best believe. Like, so she'll proofread, she'll do all that. And then my dad started a church as well. That's no longer around, and now he is like a business consultant and owns his own business doing that. So my family just loves working. I don't know how else to describe it. Everyone around me, I mean, we all work, but I really don't have any lazy people around me. So I think my work ethic it doesn't just come from my family. I think it comes from like the people I surround myself with.
Yeah.
Feel me? All right. I feel like I answered that. So I take great pride in that. You know, everything in my family has been earned. So everything, you know, that we've had to go through, whether it was a struggle or whatever, we've always found our way out by working. If that makes sense. The most amount of work with the least amount of sleep. Oh, I remember this like it was yesterday. I was working in promotions. It was like I just started in radio. I had just gotten hired, and I worked this event called Powerhouse, you know, like a big radio station concert event. And when you work promotions, you're there early, setting up all day. And you're setting up tables, you're setting up decorations and banners. Remember you used to see radio flyer banners everywhere?
I'm aware.
Yeah, Hurley's aware. Hurley did promotions too at the radio station. So in Phoenix, we did this event called Powerhouse. And at the time, I was also on the air. I also knew how to DJ and mix on the air. I had gone through, you know, that part. So it's almost like a fast forward-esque.
Okay.
So I was still doing promotions, but I was on my way to transition into just doing on-air stuff. So that day, I'll never forget it because it was the day I thought I was going to quit radio. I literally wanted to hurl myself off of the nearest fucking balcony. We had to be at the station at like 4 a.m., right? And so I'm setting up at the location. We're going all day. It's an all-day thing. We're going back and forth. And you just know when radio stations used to hold concerts, used to see images everywhere. You just had to poster everything.
Yeah.
You know, you're making it an arena inside the arena. So I'm going, you know, we're going back and forth, whatever. It was just such a long day. And then I had to be on the air. So I worked promotions in the morning, 4 a.m. Then I was on the air. And then after I was on the air, then I had to mix on the air, which are two separate rooms. So I was on the air, and then I had to go into the next room, and then I was mixing on the air. And then after that, I had to do both. So, like, this is throughout the day. I do 4 hours on the air, maybe then 2 hours mixing, and then I was on the air for, you know, a couple hours myself. And then I went back to the venue because we had to break down for promotions.
Oh my God. So especially like when you're on air and you're that tired too, you have to bring the energy as well. It's not like something where you can kind of just, you know, you're tired, you're working at like a Kohl's or something, you can just kind of like wander around, do whatever. It's like you actually had to be a personality in that kind of state of mind.
Yeah, you had to have the energy. You had to have the energy. And, you know, it was the day of the show, so you really have to sell the vibe. So, yeah, I mean, I was excited. I mean, the adrenaline kept me rolling, but I just remember I had worked 24 hours straight.
That's insane.
Because by the time it was all said and done and we got back to the radio station, I swear on everything, on my dog, that I was going to quit that day. I was like, this is fucking trash. Like, this is not worth it, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is just not worth it. If this is how I'm going to have to work and this is how I have to earn it, fuck radio. This is not worth my time, dude. I'm dying.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to, like, I couldn't eat. Like, look at some of the older pictures of me when I used to work at that radio station. My mom used to, like, call me and be like, you're not okay. You know what I mean? But this is just what you did. Anyway, I'm not going to complain about it, but it was 24 hours straight. And the boss at the time made up employee of the month because she knew I was going to quit. So she was like, we're starting employee of the month. JD, congratulations. Like, I know that's where it started because I probably just could have sued the radio station for, like, labor stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just what you did back in the day, you know?
I feel like radio especially is one of those industries too, where it's like a lot of people think that, like, you have to, you know, pay it forward and, you know, bust your ass right off the bat, and then eventually it'll kind of pay dividends.
You mean like invest time and stuff?
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, this was normal. I was surrounded by people that have been in the industry for a long time, respected people. This is just what you did.
Exactly.
So I had, you know, and we'll talk about value later. I had just created enough value for myself where I was just able to basically cover everyone's asses, you know, because all the full-timers or whatever and all the part-timers took the day off, whatever. So it was all damn day, and if, heaven forbid, if there wasn't that employee of the month, I probably would have quit the radio station for show. I don't know. I was like, if this is what I'm going to have to do to make it, I'll commit to being a teacher. What a plot twist that would have been.
The altered universe where JD becomes a teacher instead of a radio personality.
My gosh, that's how you know shit is just not okay. It's just
we'd probably be in apocalypse right now if that was good.
Yes.
Some way, some form.
Shout out to all the teachers one time. Your thoughts on following through with commitments, finishing school. Interesting. What an interesting segue. Thoughts on following through with your commitments, finishing school for teaching, knowing that your passion was radio. I mean, that's a good point. The commitment necessarily wasn't necessarily for me when it came to my degree. I think I wanted to finish school because my parents had made such a financial investment and they paid for college for me, except for I think my last semester. But everyone in my family has a degree. So at that time, I felt the pressure that I had to do it. I think if in today's age, I would have just gone into radio because I got multiple opportunities. Okay. During school. Yeah. So it wouldn't have been like worth it. If I knew what I wanted to do already, then what was the point? But yeah, I kind of felt that I had to follow through for my family. And that was the only reason why I continued with school. And I was like, well, and I had moved from the Bay to Arizona. I'm like, I moved here for school. I had to kind of like remind myself that. And I was 2 years in. It was like, let's just finish this.
Yeah. I mean, it's always nice to have something to fall back on in case, you know, something bad happens. You at least have a degree to get
Tell me more, because if I would have never fallen back on it. I would have never, there was no plan B for me, bro. Yeah. So for some people there is, and that's why you get your degree. So if you do have something you want to fall back on, but if I were smarter, I would have gone for like a business degree or something that I know would have gotten me paper right away. I was making, like in that 24-hour day that I worked, I probably made more than a teacher does during the year. Get on it, Biden. Get on it, Biden. Somebody get to it, all right? Pay our teachers more. Next question. How do you deal with getting some success and staying hungry? I don't even know if what I'm doing would qualify me as being successful. I feel like I'm on my way there, but I think people who would answer this question, when it comes to getting some kind of success in whatever job you have and staying hungry, it depends on what you do, I would think. I think, what is it that you do? Because everyone's success looks different and everyone's way of staying hungry is different. Because I think for me, I remember the times that weren't good, and I think that hella motivates me to like never look back. I had no AC in my car, for a handful of years when I lived in Arizona. I used to like wear one shirt as I was driving. Then I'd get to the location and change into another shirt. I lived in crap apartments. I was juggling school, bad radio contracts. I was DJing in places where no one was showing up, getting shitty pay. So I think, when you achieve your goals in your profession or start seeing some kind of success, I think it actually humbles you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because it reminds you of the journey. And like I said, you never want to go back to it.
Yeah.
You kind of agree with me there?
Yeah. Like, I feel like it's all a matter of, constantly wanting to better yourself and just be better than, how you were the day before, constantly keep learning, because that's kind of one thing I was honestly worried about coming out of college is, getting into a job and just becoming complacent and then just staying there, whether I like it or not, for whatever, 20 years, 30 years, just because it's something there, it's something comfortable. But like, if it's not necessarily something that I'd want to do and it's not something that's like helping me grow, then that's kind of like what scared me most about that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people feel that way, and your passions can change.
Yeah.
So I think I also stay hungry because I ask myself that very scary question: am I reaching my full potential? If you ask yourself that in the morning, that literally can get you rolling, because only you know, at least that's how I feel. Only you know if you are trying to if you are reaching your full potential. Have I given my full effort? That question scares the shit out of me, because it's like, so I think if you start asking yourself, am I reaching my full potential? I think that is just as jolting as a cup of coffee. It's a scary question to ask yourself, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And especially even being the last year being unemployed, at least I'm still asking myself, am I reaching my full potential? So maybe I'm not like finding that work success, but I'm finding the personal success. I guess I don't want to go too deep here, but I think that's the mindset. I'm like, am I reaching my full potential as a person? Am I really recharging my battery during this time? Am I have goals of like reading a book a month. Am I like reaching my full potential, trying to tackle some kind of goal that isn't work related?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like it could have been so easy for you. Like, you lose your radio job, you're still collecting the, severance and unemployment and whatnot. You could just sit back, watch Netflix every day, and just kind of like hang out, enjoy retired life.
Be fat as fuck and lazy.
Yeah. But like, you didn't choose to do that. Neither did I, because we were just constantly just like, no, it's like a waste of time. It's a waste of this year if we're just going to sit back and just let things happen to us. You got to be proactive about things.
I didn't mean to cut you off there. I think it's okay to kick it if you need to.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I wouldn't say for a full year.
Right.
But I think take a break when necessary, when you need it. Take time for yourself. But at the same time,
just know you got to keep it pushing at some point.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Hit Boy, producer. If you look him up, he produced Jay-Z, Kanye, Paris, the last full Nas album, the new Nas album. He's just a really dope producer. Produces for Beyonce. Google him.
Okay.
He tweeted out years and years and years ago, and I don't know why it stuck with me. It was work hard to work even harder. And I was like, oh, what does that mean? I think what he was saying was you work hard, and then you like. I'm thinking if I'm him, he's worked so hard to get to like that status, and now he has to work even harder to keep it. And work even harder because the work gets more challenging because, you have more responsibility or you're getting paid more. So I think when you work hard, you inevitably will work harder. Like, I felt I'm grinding just as much doing the promotions shit that I did back in the day than I am like right now. So it was like, I feel like the work is maybe not as like peasant like, but it's still some serious work. And so I think, that tweet for some reason resonated with me because there's just more responsibility that comes with the more success you have in your job. So, and then also, I also try to do some things that have absolutely nothing to do with what I do for work. So,
that's good. Yeah.
For me, my side hustle is golfing. It's just the one thing that like, I don't have to worry about a single thing. I could just go out with the boys or, whoever and just be out there or watch a Netflix show or try a new restaurant or
No, I don't know. For sure to have it's for sure good to have something that, you know, you can turn off from. I mean, that's kind of one thing it brings up an interesting point, is that you have so many people working from home now. I feel like it's hard for people to turn that switch off between the work-life balance, because it's like now your home is your work. So whenever you need to do something, you just hop on over your laptop and just get it done, even though it's technically your time off.
Right. That's a good point. My dad actually told me when I was, you know, like when I was just kind of juggling a bunch of things, especially like with the podcast and stuff, he was basically telling me to have a new location for each different part of my life. So like if you live at home, like, so if in my apartment, he would be like, okay, do this at your dinner table or wherever, your desk at work, but then maybe go to the apartment clubhouse and do work there, or do something there, and then like go to this coffee shop here, you know, have a different location for each one of those. And all of those contribute to, I think, staying hungry, because you're not chilling in one location. You know, you're doing different things. So I think like each activity has its own location. That way you can like, it triggers your brain.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, so he told me about that. All right, moving on. What's your thought process? And these are just things that people were asking me, and then we're going to get into the more generic stuff right after this.
Okay.
What's your thought process on creating content with artists? I have a lot of like radio people that will hit me up or will show some love or something on something that I've done. And here's my thought process when it comes to artists and stuff and creating content for that. A lot of it is organic. When I did Flip Cup, so before I moved to Boston, Flip Cup was my thing, even for a couple years out here. But Flip Cup was my thing. Whenever an artist came through, we would do Flip Cup, and it started very organic. So like the first thing would be to just think organically. When I was in the room with Waka Flocka, I'll never forget it. His entourage scared the bejesus out of me. There were like 10 of them. I was terrified. And I think when entourages come, and it could just not just entourage, anyone who comes with an artist.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of people or a handful of people, the artist will only be as comfortable as like the people around them, as what I've noticed, unless they're just a normal charismatic artist. Like they really, if their homies act like they're too cool for school, usually a lot of the times the artist will mirror that.
Yeah.
So I needed to find a way to break that up, because I was so scared to talk to Waka Flocka because of the people around him. Like the setting made me like nervous and uncomfortable, and like I wasn't going to ask the right question, because it was like, well, if I happen to look over at this person and they give like a weird face, it throws off the entire aura of the room.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, if I can find a way to make the entourage a part of whoever comes with an artist, if I can make them part of the bit, then that makes the artist loose. And that creates a fun, competitive atmosphere. It's different. So that's why I started Flip Cup, because it was just something that the whole crew, even like the label people that came through, we could all do it. And I had t-shirts and I had fucking stupid medals, but it was something that, and this is what I remember the most. Kendrick Lamar, when he came in the beginning of his career, we played for my Chipotle burrito and like $20.
Yeah.
Right? And it was so fun because, you know, someone in his entourage was like, hey, by the way, if we win, we're going to stomp your burrito. And I was like, word. And so he had such a fun time that the label rep after, like a few months later, or like whenever his next go around was tour-wise, was like, we need to go back to the Flip Cup place. I didn't care if he didn't remember my name because it was irrelevant. He remembered an experience. So that's another piece of advice. When you have I think of what will this artist leave with that will be like, oh, we're back in Boston. We have to go, where was that one station that we went to where we did da.
Yeah.
That's how I think. So, and you know, you do your research, you see what these artists love outside of music, because they're human beings. You remember Anne Marie?
Yeah.
She had what's the
she with Ed Sheeran?
Yeah, Ed Sheeran. She had a record with Marshmello. I think it was called Friends, right?
Yep.
And so she was like a black belt at jiu-jitsu or whatever the hell it's called, or ninja stuff.
Yeah.
And I dressed up as a Power Ranger and was like, hey, can you give me like a tutorial on how to beat someone up?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just something stupid. And
because it's like they go on these tours all the time, and they have to go to all these, you know, radio stations and people getting interviewed, and they get the same exact questions every single time. Like it's kind of nice for them to, you know, change it up a little bit. Yeah. And what I like how you did is like you can take something as simple as a game of Flip Cup, but there's a deeper meaning behind it when it comes to doing with artists, because you are using it not just for fun, but also to break them out of their, you know, or break them into a comfort zone, I guess.
Or if they're in a funk from traveling, you know, whether it's they're tired and I pay attention to like what's trending. I think I remember remember planking?
Yeah.
I remember planking was big and we did it with Big Sean.
Okay.
And that was just something that was trending, you know, I just think, what can I do? Something that's separate. And number one, I give a lot of credit to the artists and the label people who allow me to do that or allow people to do that in our industry. Because it takes a lot. It takes a lot for them to pitch it, and you know, if like people are gonna act like a diva, it really does take. It takes a lot of effort from the artist to want to do something fun too. Yeah, which I think, you know, and they don't want to look. And I also try to make sure that no one ever looks stupid. Mm-hmm. So that's very important to me. Like, it's not about me. Like, it's about us having an experience. And a lot of the times, I don't know what I'm going to get out of a 10 to 12 timed interview with someone that no one can see anywhere else, or that people won't be able to find that information anywhere else, especially if I'm meeting these artists for the first time. Yeah. So I think, I'm like, well, what would they want to view? Like, I played Jenga with Miguel. I don't know, dude. It was just something. It was just something to do. Yeah. You know, just something different.
Something that you can't find on just like a Wikipedia article.
Right. Right. You find something that they're interested in, and then you go from there. And, you know, you just have to have fun. And sometimes it hits, and I swear to God, sometimes it does not. Because Kid Ink, when I went and played Flip Cup with him, it was if cringe was a bit. It was so bad. And I don't mean to call him out. Maybe it was just the day, but it was the people around him that made it uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. They didn't give a fuck. And he was like, well, why would I give a fuck? Yeah. So it made sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like they probably come into the interviews with those like preconceived notions. It's just like, oh, like I'm just going to talk about my new album and we're going to do this. But then, then it's already just kind of lost.
You know, it's not, my brain moves way too fast for that. Mm-hmm. And I'll admit, I was not good, and I'm still learning. I was not good at those forced conversations, especially, you know, in an interview thing. Like, that's a talent. So unless I was going to be in a bigger market and given that like Howard Stern format where we can just talk for an hour, man, dude, under the gun, that was tough for me to start.
Do you remember the first artist first like big artist that you were kind of nervous to interview one-on-one?
J. Cole.
Did it go well? Or you don't know?
It makes me cringe. Yeah. But I think because there were people that I respected in the room, and it was one of those things that I when people were watching me, I felt like you feel like you were putting on an act. I don't know, dude. I could not have a conversation because I just thought I was on stage. Yeah. And that's just not what the interview process is. You have to be very curious. And I was curious on how I would look versus getting information out of the interview. I was just doing everything I could to not look fucking stupid. Mm-hmm. And so probably that I was really nervous for that one. That's a great question. Yeah. Because, I mean, it depends. Because when you come to Boston, there were more people that came through in higher pressure situations. Okay. But, you know, it was a lot of the people that if I didn't know a lot about them that I was really nervous. I was like, shit, dude, you know, I'm not in the crates enough to to know your past. Yeah. All right, let's go into, you know, normal people now that we've gotten some of my shit, you know, for the entertainment industry out of the way. Mm-hmm. Someone asked, do I believe in 5-day work weeks? I don't know. I haven't done one in so long. Probably not. I think I think it would completely switch up the way people view productivity if you did like a 4-day work week. You know, if you crammed everything like into 4 days.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, even if there is 4 days, like, they're going to find some way to, they'll be like, all right, it's 4 days, but it's going to be 12 hours a day.
Right.
Something insane.
Yeah. I think...
Even though people are doing 12 hours a day for 5 days a week too.
Right. I think 20, or I mean, what was I going with a number there? I think you work from home Monday, go in the office Tuesday through Thursday, and Friday you have off, and that's your, because the two most pointless days are Monday and Friday. We're lazy as fuck, dude. Oh my gosh, as a civilization. I think if we're gonna fix something, here's my solution to that. How about not being accessible after 5 p.m., you know, or accessible after you leave the office, you know? I mean, that's why they created landlines. But if you had like a work phone that you had to leave at work, that's what kills people. It's that they can't turn it off when they get home. Yeah. You know, and a lot of the times it's not their fault. It's just the way it is, depending on what you do for a living. So if we're going to fix anything, you know, I feel like everyone's working like a 37-day week. Yeah. Rather than it's just all the time. And so if we created some kind of thing that just is a hard stop where unless it was urgent, and I mean, I don't even know what urgent means anymore. Yeah. Because you're really just covering someone's ass if they need something. That's really all it is at the end of the day. So I think if we just, you know, Ed Sheeran recently in interviews said that he has designated, ever since the birth of his daughter, he has designated studio time, 9 to 5, and then it's done.
Yeah, I know Eminem does the same thing.
He got it from Eminem.
Oh, okay.
So that's what he said. He goes, and that created structure in my life where it was like, after this time, and it's like, it's hard to tell your boss or whoever it is, it's like, don't call me after 5 o'clock.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was mentioning earlier with the whole like work from home things. It's like you're not even, changing location, yeah, right, and it's like you're not like leaving work. It's like technically you're still there because you've been working from your house all day. So it's like you gotta, set those deadlines. Just be like, all right, logging off at 5. If you need to contact me, I'll be back on at 8:30 tomorrow.
No one has personal numbers, you know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how that all plays out, you know. But I'd probably just leave, find a way where it's just like everyone gets a work phone. You can go nuts. Yeah. I will mention, though, the whole work from home thing has been a really cool thing that's come out of this pandemic. I agree. Because I don't think a lot of companies really trusted it. And I think it is cool and important to, have that kind of hybrid lifestyle. I do think going into work is also important, too, just for the social aspect. You have to. But, yeah. The camaraderie is, I feel like, so important. And, yeah, I mean, I don't know what that – a lot of these things I can't relate to. So I'm just going to kind of give you my opinion, but I have not. I mean, even when I went into the office, basically almost my whole career, no one was in the building. I worked nights, so yeah. I would just have the hard stop. Just be like, dude, that's what kills people. Whether it's interviews or not, like kills people literally, but mentally, it's just like, well, when does it stop? Yeah. So that would be my solution to that. What's your morning routine? How do you get your day started? Do you journal or manifest? I know a lot of people do this. I see like 1,000 TikToks a day on it. I'll get past like the boring shit of like waking up, stretching, and whatever, getting your cup of coffee. But before breakfast, I'll pray. I feel like at least for me, that's a big thing. Like that's my journal manifest. I'll just say things that I'm thankful or grateful for in the morning where, like at that moment, like if, that I can eat, that I'm provided for, that I don't take for granted. If someone's on my mind, I'll throw them in there. I have my deepest sense of gratitude in the morning time. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. So for me, I don't need I think you have to remind yourself that you're trying, every morning. Yeah. And even when you get home, if that helps you. For me, it's just like, listen, and you're asking yourself, are you giving it your full potential in whatever aspect it is? And you remind yourself that you're trying. And if I feel something like in my heart, then I guess I'll absolutely manifest it or ask for clarity, but I don't need to write down, I am grateful, I am strong, I am worthy. That doesn't get my brain going. I don't knock it for everyone else has their thing. Yeah. What do you do? You do anything in the morning?
No, not much.
Just wake up. Listen,
wake up.
I'm not opposed to that either. So I think for me, I just look for reassurance and direction, and that's been such a heavy thing for me in my life because I've had to change locations a lot. I've had to move. So for me, it's like all of those things go into the gut gumbo, where like a lot of the decisions that I make that I rely on my gut so much stem from like, okay, just asking for reassurance that I'm going in the right direction. So I guess that's my morning routine. At breakfast, it's like that's my time to like hone in. That's great. That's what sets the tone for me during the day.
That's nice.
Other than that, I'm not into the like candles or, I need to have 12 different, massage techniques, or I do have a Theragun or whatever it is, and that shit fucking changes your life, son. Get you one of those. How do you become successful within your company? That's a great question, because that depends on what level you're trying to reach.
Yeah, I think it might depend on industry as well.
Yes. Okay, I'll give this one a go though.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was for me. I feel like it's simple. It's value. You want to be successful within a company. You got to create value for yourself, and that sounds mad cliche, but if you bring value to the table, and I think for me, I told my supervisors or my bosses immediately what my intentions were the moment I started at like companies.
Okay.
And it doesn't, if you've been at your company for a while, it's the same shit. You just talk to your boss or your supervisor, and if you have like a goal or a mindset, that's how you become successful. It's like, well, what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
You gotta answer that question first. So for me, if I wanted to be on the air. So I immediately, the first internship meeting I had before when I was working for free, I had made it known that I wanted to work, that I wanted to be on the air. And so as I was working and creating value for myself, I was like, okay, if I'm trying to get hired at the radio station and there are 10 interns, and you can apply it to whatever you need to in your life for this scenario. What could I do to separate myself from X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G? If I'm just doing promotion stuff, that's not good enough.
Yep.
So if you're just doing what people around you are doing and you're just a fish in the water,
blending in, yep,
then you'll kind of get what's coming to you. But I learned how to DJ and host and be around people and to be able to be reliable when the full-time on-air talent came, to be able to like tell them who they needed to talk to inside at like a remote setup, like when the radio stations are set up at businesses. Whatever I could do to make people's jobs easier, that's what I did. And then I just did all those things. So when, I was learning new skills, so when you're creating value for yourself at a company, imagine if they let you go, that they're firing 7 people in one. So it's like if the radio station wanted to get rid of me, they were getting rid of someone who knew how to do promotions, knew how to be on the air, knew how to mix, knew how to drive and do all those things by themselves.
Yeah.
Didn't need any help. Like I was just like, listen, you just put me in the car, I'll put the equipment in, and then we're on. So I think if you're one of those people at your job, you just have to find a way to create, and only you know what you need to do as far as creating the value. And you have to be open to learning a new skill that might not just be your jam, I guess.
I know for me, I'm a very shy person. Like I definitely am not good with like first off interactions with people. And I remember at Mix where I was working at before this, I was really scared to talk to my boss, basically introduce myself to him for the first time and mention to him that I was interested in, moving up and like finding more opportunities for myself at the company rather than just doing promotions. And it was honestly terrifying for me to do that. There was definitely times I would walk past his office, like almost ready to do it and just be like, no, not today.
Then you take a dump before it.
Yeah. Fine.
Like, I shit myself. Can't let him see me today.
Yeah. There's something in my teeth. I probably should just do it tomorrow. But I feel like eventually you just kind of got to face your fears if you're like me and you're kind of very scared to introduce yourself to people, because all it takes is that one interaction, and then it's so much easier from that point forward. That basically me just going into his office and just being like, hey, I'm interested in I've been working here for like a year. I was just super interested in, you know, moving up. He was super nice. Like, definitely was a lot better conversation that took place than what took place in my head. Got into doing the overnight shifts, and then was hoping to move up, but then a pandemic hit. So
tried so hard. Yeah. Well, how else are your bosses supposed to know?
Exactly. Yeah. I think just kind of like making your name heard. So then it's like there's more of a personal connection there. As scary as that might be, I think it's important to, you know, socialize and network with people in your industry.
Oh yeah, 100%. And timing plays a big role, but yeah, you want to be successful within your company, you got to create value. And, you know, when they're in an office with the higher ups and the doors are closed, are you one of the first people off the board of like, we can't lose he or she?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you're not one of those people, and you can ask yourself, am I one of those people that if our company went to shit today, even though it would never happen, if it went to shit, where am I? You know, like, am I on stage getting a medal, or am I just a participant?
Kicked to the wayside, yeah.
You know? So yeah, that's my advice for that. How important of a role does work environment play? Oh my God. I could do a separate podcast on this. I mean, it's everything. It's the reason why I've taken jobs. It's the reason why I haven't taken jobs. I think work environment is so crucial. I mean, times are a little different now. I mean, I haven't been in an office, a COVID office, you know, since the pandemic. But I usually do hella research before I enter a situation. You know, I haven't had to like work, but I guess a better example for me would be like clubs. So, okay. You know, I'll definitely, because I've only worked at a handful of places as far as radio stations are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like clubs and stuff and those different buildings and interactions, I think I will be like, oh, well, what's the manager like in this situation? Or what's this person like in this situation? Or if I'm moving departments, you know, what is the vibe over there? I always ask what the vibe is.
Okay.
Because it plays such a crucial role, I think, because there are two different kind of work environments. One where your boss is a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then number two, where the people you work with are pieces of shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, which one are you going to put up with, I guess? You know, and, you know, do the people you work with or your boss outweigh or stop your growth, I guess, or your progress? You know, is that playing a key role? Maybe the opportunity is amazing, but people bring you down, and it's tough to go in the building every day. They ruin your spirit, or maybe you need to look at yourself and fix your fucking vibe. You know, look at yourself. I mean, I can only speak from experiences. I absolutely have loved the places that I've been in, and I don't take that for granted. But I also have been in buildings where people love their jobs. So I think that plays a huge role in what environment you get into.
Yeah.
You know, if you know when you pull up to one of these joints that, shit, if I'm miserable going into it, there's no way everybody else isn't miserable into it. And so there you go.
Especially as a DJ, yeah.
So that's the answer to that. I mean, you know, and how much are you willing to put up with? What's the end game? Have you played that scenario out? Do the pros outweigh the cons? You know, are you being pushed enough to grow? Or, you know, I think if I worked in I'll play the game. If I were in a toxic work environment, what would I do? I'd use every fucking resource I could to get out. And that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But I would take my talents elsewhere, because here's the thing. I refuse to work unhappy. That's my rule. Yeah. I'm not going to go to work unhappy and be unhappy, like especially for long hours, because then it filters into other aspects of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like on purpose. And it all starts with being at work, you know, like from the jump. Like, how are you supposed to be grateful and write your 3 things in your journal when you know all that shit's just going to be blown up when you pull up?
Yeah, I mean, especially also if you work like in the United States, like capitalism and all that, like you're spending, you know, a majority of your life, believe it or not, at work. Yeah, so if you're spending a majority of your life unhappy, that's not a good thing to continue.
How much are you willing to put up with? You know, communication also plays a bigger key. You know, how much are you communicating with those people in your office? You know?
Yeah.
I remember, I mean, I worked with Lady Law on mornings when I was in Phoenix, and we went through the gauntlet, and it was a tough work environment for stretches, and it really tested our friendship more than anything. But I think had we not been great communicators to be like, hey, this bugs me, or you don't do this quick enough,
mm-hmm.
or I know you can do better. You know,
Wow.
I mean, those are real life things I feel like that go on in an office. I've watched enough episodes of The Office where I feel like I've gained experience in there, but I get, you know what I mean? I get, it makes sense. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah.
You have to communicate, and sometimes you might not have a choice because financial benefits, health benefits. I get that. I mean, what the fuck you want me to do? I'm just trying to tell you, if you're in an unhappy work environment, I'd find every resource I could, even if I had to be miserable for 5 months after, to get out. Mm-hmm. And if I had to start over again, I mean, you just got to know. I mean, I just refuse to work unhappy. I can't do it. And it's just like having a shitty roommate, I guess. If you don't like your work environment, it's like, I've lived with shitty roommates. You just make sure that they're not eating your fucking chips.
Yeah.
I don't know. You just keep your distance. Mm-hmm. Find a way to do your job. What direction are you trying to go in with your goals? And if you got to stick it out for a year and work for Satan, then so be it for a second. If that's, that opportunity will lead you, and you just kind of put your head down and do your thing. Sometimes you just have to suck it up. Mm-hmm. It's tough these days because everyone's like what can I do, now.
Yeah.
They're just not willing to be fucking miserable for a second to understand the bigger picture. I've always understood the bigger picture. That's how my brain works. If I believe that if I have to be here for another year or 6 months or whatever to move on to the next thing, I will stick it out because I understand the bigger picture. And if it's not making me want to, stab my throat out, then I can handle it.
When I was, I think I was probably a junior in college, so maybe this was like a few years ago. I actually met with our dear friend Joe Mazzi, who works here.
Yeah.
This was literally the first time I've ever met him. And he told me this really cool thing that he did when he was getting up in radio, that he had he literally physically wrote down on a piece of paper what he wanted to be at a specific date. And he basically, he had his end goal at the bottom, and then he listed on top of that every step it would take to get to that end goal, and then had dates at each level. And I feel like it was a pretty cool thing or a pretty cool idea essentially, because then you can, hold yourself accountable a little bit in terms of are you where you want to be right now, or are you stuck in a job that, you don't like that much? And then you can, physically see on this paper, it's like, oh, by this point, I mean, the way I'm saying it sounds like it's going to stress you the hell out.
No, it makes sense.
But, it's kind of just being able to physically see and actually physically see your progress too.
Yeah.
If you're halfway to where you're supposed to be, then, that's pretty reassuring as well.
Yeah, and I think I think that's great because sometimes you do have to hold yourself accountable. You can't just blame other people or blame your situation. It's like, okay, well, I mean, it's inevitably teaching you to change who you are as not necessarily as a person. Do you get what I mean there? It forces you to grow. Mm-hmm. So whether that's learning to grow with working with trash barrels or working with great people, the difference. So I think I'm glad that we talked this out because it all comes down to what are you willing to put up with, and inevitably you're going to grow from it somehow. Mm-hmm. So you have to be able to push through that and understand that you're going to gain experience. If you can understand that you will gain experience, then you'll be good. Other than that, if you're just going to keep complaining, how someone who always complains about the relationship they're in, dude, just fucking get out. I don't know what else to tell you. If you know that will make you happy, pull the trigger. It's easier said than done, but go nuts.
Yeah.
Okay. Last few here. Let's go. Keys to being successful in relocating states for jobs, and advice on being hesitant moving or starting in a new state. Yeah, this is tough because for me, I've had to accept it because it's part of my industry. But let's just talk to the people who are given opportunities for places out of state. I will say that whenever I factor one of these things in, I do the hand gesture thing where I say, am I going level? Am I just going straight across? Am I going down or am I going up? Mm-hmm. So if I'm moving, normally we're going up. Yep. So whatever the opportunity is, I would hope that if you're concerned about moving states, then I think you need to ask yourself, is the opportunity going this way, going upwards? Because if it is, then, don't let that fear trip you out. Because I'm not in a position. Luckily, I'm not in a position where I don't have a kid, I don't have a girl, I finished school. So life circumstances obviously play a key role in that, and it's a ton of energy to move, man. You really got to be built for it. You really got to know. And for me, I like I said, I look at the big picture, and I don't care what it takes to get me there. Does the opportunity get me closer to my goals because I've done it before? I know what it looks like. I know what it takes. I know what it involves. And I think never let a climate or never let a place weather determine whether you would move there or not. If you're going to move somewhere colder, if you asked me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, well, 10 years ago, because I've lived out here for 6 years. If you asked me 10 years ago if I would ever move to this side of the coast, I would tell you, you're a fucking dummy. You're stupid. We laugh at you guys. We laugh at the East Coast
in our
snowstorms.
20th day of rain.
Yeah, and I'm at the pool reading about a northeastern, or a northeast or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So I've never let a climate dictate my opportunity.
Okay.
If it's a good opportunity, if you're going to Boston, get a coat. If you're moving back to Arizona, sell your coat at a garage sale. It's a lot of these things, if you simplify them and you dumb it down, you'll really be able to answer the questions pretty thoroughly because you already know. You know what I mean? I think it's a disservice to not live in another state or another region at some point in your life. If you've just been in your hometown, I'm not knocking that, but you got to understand that the world is ginormous, and I'm so grateful that I've been able to get to know the culture and vibe at an East Coast place, because it's just different everywhere, man. It's just, life is just fucking different. So I think, I rely a lot on feel for me. So if I'm moving states, or if I'm moving even cities, I imagine everything about my life in that city. Hurley, absolutely everything. I feel the scent. I feel, what I'm going to do outside of work. I imagine myself in the building. I imagine what kind of success I want to have at the job. What is the peak? Does that opportunity make sense? And if it does, then I pull the trigger. And I can tell you from experience, it's worked out every time, thankfully, so far. Because even if at least you stuck with the decision. I can live with the decision of if it was a better opportunity, but it was a toxic work environment, and that's my mistake. I can live with that. And I think if you can live and learn with those mistakes, then you'll be all right. But yeah, simplify it and dumb it down, man. Don't let location, drift you off course. If you're really worried, I like the sun so much, or I like this so much, I don't want to hear it, man. I made crazy life adjustments moving to this coast, and it's really not that big of a deal at the end of the day. I have friends that have sold their cars out here that live in a quarter of the space, and pay quadruple the rent. I don't want to hear it, dude.
Yeah.
It's a matter of if you're just going to complain, then keep making excuses for yourself. I threw that shit out the window. I just trust my gut, man, and I just look for those keys of reassurance that I'm going in that direction. Do you leave a good paying job if it's mindless work?
That is a great question.
Probably not. I don't know. Listen, I don't know what people's goals are, but if you're in a place where the check clears, great, fine by me. I think working without purpose is a huge fear of mine. I don't know about you, Hurley.
Yeah.
If you're just working to work, I think that's tough. I do feel like you'll reach a threshold where you'll know you need to start something new. But if the check is good and it pays for other things that make you happy in your life, all right.
And also, because brings up a good point, because that's kind of a thought I had this past year when I was just sitting in a studio overnight, just making sure nothing went wrong. In which case, most of the times nothing went wrong. So I didn't really feel like I was really serving any, you have people like doctors, you have all these people coming up with these crazy, ideas and new stuff like that. And I was I'm not really offering much right now other than just monitoring what's going on. But what I did have was this side, gig of producing music, creating content, DJing and stuff like that. So I think for that person, or for whoever's wondering that, I think if your mindless job allows you the capabilities to also pursue something. Maybe it doesn't even make you any money, but it's pursue something that gives you purpose and, you know, allows you to have fun and create and do whatever you want to do. I think it's worth it in that case.
I don't even know why if I need to answer the question anymore. I think you just did it right there. I thought, no, that's well summed up. I mean, I felt the same doing nights when I was at AMP my final year. I mean, that was going to be it for me, unless there, you know, I got afternoons or mornings. I was done. I hit my ceiling there, and I knew it. I think, you know, deep down inside, you know, at your job, you're like, I've hit it. I've hit the ceiling. You know, and this is mindless work. I could put together a night show in my sleep. Like, it was ho-hum to me. I knew exactly what to do, even to make it unique. So you would have no idea. That was easy to me. It was effortless. I mean, because I trained my mind.
Yeah.
But like when I pulled up, it was just like, all right, man, well, this is starting to get semi-mindless because I'm not being challenged.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I'm like working towards, you know, like, or I'm working towards it, but how am I going to get, if you just know if the opportunity well runs dry, and it's not anyone else's fault. Like, at least in my circumstance, it wasn't anybody's fault in the building or management's fault or whatever. That was how I felt. And I was willing to eat it after, you know, if the radio station was, you know, around anymore. Rest in peace, AMP Radio, all hail, 103.3. But yeah, that's at least how I felt. So, I mean, I'm not going to say I was doing mindless work, but I felt like we were getting in that direction. Like, I was having mindless progress.
Okay.
Like, I was just in the mud.
Just another day.
It was just another day. That's a dangerous place to find yourself. You know what I mean? All right, let's see. I have two more here. Two more. Negotiation tips. Love it. Someone saw my Yale degree. Glad you looked. Knew it was going to come. I knew it. I just, you know, I knew I was going to make an impact. Yeah. That's my credibility. Should have worn the Yale sweatshirt today. Damn it. Every situation is different. I think you gotta read the room. You got to set the tone early when it comes to negotiations. I think, and I can only speak for myself. Do not apply this however you want. I don't want to be your source here. I made it. If I knew I really wanted an opportunity, I did the best I could to subtly say that. It was like, listen, I want us to have a deal here. My intentions are not to not sign something.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you put the fault on them of like, and I don't want to give too many of my goods in case like some radio station wants to get after me and I'm just going to give them all the tips here. But I think it's important because I think my dad taught me, if you come from an authentic place and you're very transparent, the negotiation can go pretty easy. It really does not have to be that difficult. So it was important for me. I remember like saying like, listen, I had my lawyer say he wants to sign. Like, and I made that, loud and proud myself. I was like, listen, I want to sign, but like, let's make it right. So I think, you got to read out what that situation is, who you have the relationships with that you're dealing with. And it's never personal. I mean, it's hard. It's a really easy point, but because we're human beings, it's really hard to separate that, because when the door closes and these executives with the suits and ties get together, they're monsters sometimes. And they're just doing their jobs too, but they have taken emotion out. And if you're not ready for that, then you're going to get blindsided, because you usually find that out in a sense of like, oh, that's how much I'm worth? That's how much you're giving me to start? You say no to that first. But it can hurt your feelings. Like if someone gave you X amount and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I'm worth way more than this. It's important to not like get gassed up, but understand I'm worth way more than this.
Yeah.
Or, whatever that may be for you, because, it's their job too. And the worst thing that they could say is no, So I think patience is key. You can stand your ground on the things that mean most to you. A lot of the time it isn't money. I've had contracts where I knew I wasn't going to get the money, but I could get a few extra vacation days because I love to travel and I want to make sure that my mental health is at all-time premium. So if you're not going to be willing to budge on these things, think about dude, I remember my last contract, dude. I'm such an idiot. I think I threw like Red Sox tickets in there. I was like, I want to be in the suite for, oh my gosh, my boss called me and told me to like basically fuck myself. He's like, you know what I mean? Like, I was just throwing obscure things, dude. And so I don't recommend that. I learned that, but I think, you say what you want. You definitely have to be prepared. If I learned anything at Yale, it's like, you have to be very prepared.
Okay.
You got to know you got to know it's you see it all the time. You have to say why. If you want to get paid more, you want to know why. So the more evidence, the more you're at least justified. So I think knowing what you want is crucial. You got to write it down. There got to be things that you're not willing to budge on. And I hire a lawyer for my stuff. You know, I don't know how everyone else gets down. And sometimes it just gets to a point, you know, maybe you need to step in for a second. I've had to do that where like my representatives are, you know, they get a little turnt, even though, you know, it doesn't need to go in that direction. And I have to just reiterate and kind of step in and be like, hey, by the way, just stopping in. Hey, just want to let you know I still want to work here. I'm still interested or whatever. I mean, the more transparent you are and the more upfront you are, it really can be seamless.
Okay.
You know, so, and that's for anything, man. And, you know, I have to negotiate all the time when I'm doing like weddings or whatever. You know, I have to factor in all these things. Like, be realistic with yourself, dude. Like, if you go in with a crazy number and you know that they're going to tell you to fuck yourself, then don't ask for it. Your situation is different. So I don't know what that is for you, but I'll just take emotion out of it. Don't take it personal. And you don't need to rush. Also, if you feel like you need to take some time, they want you to sign, you know, agree. Take your time, chill, like let it resonate, because for radio, those contracts are, you know, a couple years. So, you know, if you work at a company where you sign for a year or two, then that's what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got to be careful what you wish for or ask for. I'll end it on this one. I love these conversations though. I mean, even though we're getting into that range of like where you want to kill yourself of how long we've gone. This is a conversation I feel, you know, there are nuggets everywhere.
Yeah, we might have to have another show on it. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. Last one is my favorite here. Thoughts on networking, the best way to network. And I did an article, or I was asked to be a part of an article from the Shold Media Group. If you want to read the whole thing, just Shold, like SHOLD Media Group. And they asked me about it because it's a website or it's an agency or whatever that links broadcast people together.
Oh, cool.
And so they just asked me to be a part of this article, and they asked me, you know, what do you think about networking? And their whole goal is to like network people in broadcasting since it's such a small field.
Yeah.
Recommendations or whatever. And so I'll read you basically almost word for word what I wrote because this is literally how I feel now. And I think this was like a couple years ago, but I still feel the same way. I said that life is about networking. I mean, we're just human beings, but networking with a purpose is just as important because you need to be authentic. You need to be pure with your intentions. So much of networking involves simply on just like being yourself and not asking for anything in return. I never promised he or she anything. I didn't make any fake promises. You can get exposed real quick. You know, I could either help them or I couldn't.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, when you're networking with people, you know, networking isn't just giving out free shit. You know, you're not, you know, meet as many people as you can, you know, but don't feel like maybe the pressure to keep in contact with them. I feel like people feel like that's you got to keep in contact, which you can, but like also, you know, you can get burned out really fast. You don't have to be these people's friends.
Yeah, you can pick and choose.
Right. Like, and I'm a big vibe person, so I can feel whether I'm vibing with someone or not, but I'm also not hurt if we don't ever talk again.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Because they'll be able to just sniff you out just as quick, you know, find common interests with that other person outside of what you do. You know, like if you both love bowling, you know, like maybe getting a bowling league. I don't know. Find something else that doesn't have to do with your profession that you guys can commonly go back and forth with. So if someone's a huge Lakers fan, I'm a huge Warriors fan, and I see that the Lakers got smacked, maybe I send them a screenshot. Maybe we have a little friendly bet every time the Warriors and Lakers play. That's just something small that has nothing to do with what you do, that is fun, that you can just go back and forth with and keep the conversation. You have to listen. You know, when you're networking with people, you have to pay attention, because if you're just putting on, like, I guess a front, it sounds mad corny to say that.
No, I know what you mean.
But if you're not paying attention, if you're not paying attention, then you don't pick up on what they're telling you, or like it goes both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people, I don't know why, but it's like the Los Angeles. I feel like everyone kind of has that kind of notion about each other.
Singling out LA?
No, but I've just heard that you know, people that have traveled there or maybe just moved there, they're like, yeah, everyone's like trying to be your friends, but they have the fingers crossed behind their back. Like it's all kind of like the fake.
Yeah, you're not off. I mean, I don't want to blast everyone in LA, but
sorry, LA, Los Angeles.
I mean, but you know, that's just an example. I mean, you have a lot of people that are doing the same thing. So it's like, well, how are you separating yourself? And I think the more you have to just be cool with being yourself, man. And like saying to be authentic is corny to me, but it's how I've been able to develop my relationships because it comes from a good place. And I've paid the price as far as like probably keeping in contact with people that I could have or maybe could help me get to a certain area, but it just didn't feel right to me. I don't know. Networking is such a feel thing too. And I think social networking plays a key role because there are thousands of people that do what you do and millions of people that do what you do. So for me, for example, if I saw something cool that someone did, another radio jock, I'd compliment them on it. I'd be like, yo, this bit was dope. This interview was awesome. If that's how I felt, I wouldn't just say it just to gas someone up because I would know XYZ in New York or, you know, someone in Philly because I'm looking for a job, you know, because like, they'll be able to sniff that out super quick. If you're just hitting me up and it took you 5 things to just get to what you really wanted, then I will have known that. Yeah. So I think, you know, if I thought someone was dope, even if they didn't know who I was, you know, even if I don't know, you know, I'm trying to relate it to other people's work. If you see, even if it's someone in your building or someone, you know, that you can just pay a compliment to organically, that's networking of just like, hey, I see you. You're doing your thing. That's dope. Yeah. And then you don't have to talk to them after. It's totally okay. You can like the comment and keep it pushing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think for me, it was just, you know, if I saw, I do it. I still do it all the time. I'm like, yo, this was dope. I laughed here. Yeah. Like, this was funny. And that's what, like, you know, DMs are playing a huge role these days. But if that's how you feel, then go crazy. I comment. You know, I tell them, I gas them up. I don't let my ego get in the way. I give credit where credit is due, you know? I'm inspired by a lot of these people, you know? So if you're inspired by somebody, and even if they're your friend and they don't post it, tell them. Yeah. Like, don't be scared to just tell them. It's pretty easy.
That's funny. I don't see you in my comment section a lot.
Well, I don't think anything that you do is tight. That's really rude. I don't mean that. I take that back early. I take that
all
back,
jokes
man.
here. I'm just kidding.
I take that back. No, but listen, like but at least like we can do this right now. We can have an exercise. No, because I think for at least what Hurley does, you can tell that you're passionate about what you do. So like I don't benefit anything from what you do well, now I benefit because you're producing the show and you can make me look like a fucking idiot. But like, you know, pre this, just seeing someone who's enjoying what they do brings me joy. So even like if I thought like a beat that you did was dope, I just be like, yo, that was ill. Yeah. And then it's like just, you know, it's like walking by someone who's like, hey, yo, that's a really cool line. And then you just, you know, you keep it walking. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's my compliment to you, is that I know you're at least on your journey of doing what you love to do. I don't benefit anything from it. Yeah. But it's dope. Yeah. So I think you can network. It doesn't even have to be people in your profession because you never know what someone will be able to contribute to your life. So yeah, just like if you see someone do something dope or you like what someone's wearing, gas them up. Yeah. Go crazy.
They're never going to take it the wrong way.
Right. You know, if you compliment with a purpose and with truth, you're going to be good to go. Like you'll do really, really well. And I think people feel great knowing that you see them. You know, selfishly, I think that there's like, oh, okay, this person saw me. They saw what I did, or they're seeing what I'm doing, or and you know, networking doesn't have to just be online. It's like if you go to an event and that you got invited to, networking is living. Yeah. I've never understood, like, if I didn't want to work with you, the network, like my relationship, I'll burn the fucking bridge down to the ground. If you're not a good person, why would I have wanted to work with you just to say I'm networking with you? If I know you're trash, then like why would I want to associate myself?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And especially if you're out there and you have kind of like the social anxiety like I do sometimes, it's like you just boil it down to just it's one interaction. And if it's in a situation like it's out at like a bar or something, chances are you're never going to see that person again. So might as well try something out. And if nothing happens of it, then, you know, it's just look at it as practice for the next time.
Right. I mean, if you're networking when you're talking to some random person at the bar.
Yeah.
Networking is all around us, my friends. You know, my buddy Zach wrote a book called Don't Sleep on Planes. Stupid name of a book.
I like it.
You know, he was like, you never know who you're going to meet on a plane, and, you know, don't sleep because, you know, if you just have that conversation, bro, I'm going to sleep on every plane.
I can't sleep on planes,
right.
So that's another story.
But the you know, what you mean, yeah. What he was trying to get at was like, listen, man, networking is just being next to the person because everyone has a story and you never know. So if you come from a true, authentic place, then you'll always have those relationships. Mm-hmm. Even if it's for a streaky time period, you know, if someone comes to town and you take care of them, it will go a long way. And you come from a good place. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like if someone came out here from a different state and I bought them dinner or whatever, just because I was like, listen, when you're in my town, like here, I got you. It's done. It will be reciprocated and you don't even have to ask for it. And it was because I would have wanted to do it. You know what I mean? I'm just like, listen, enjoy yourself. Like it's all good. You know, like, It's and then there's the quiet, subtle way of like, but you know, when I come out there, you know, you have to get me right. Like, you know, everything's gonna be straight. So I think people who are truly good at networking never like get their feelings hurt. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not like butthurt that someone doesn't text you or you know that person hasn't. If you're keeping score networking, you're fucked.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we're literally put on Earth to live, and that's it. Am I missing anything? Did you have anything you wanted to throw in, Hurley? I felt like.
The only thing I was going to mention, and you already answered it, was I was wondering how you felt about traveling, because I know you did that a lot for your job, but you already answered that. So,
like just dipping out to different states and shit like that? Yeah,
so like did you know anyone in Boston before coming? Wow.
Nope.
Okay.
I pulled up to my Boston apartment without even seeing it.
Wow.
So, I mean, I took tremendous risks. I was negotiating my contract on the road.
And were you missing Arizona like while you were here for the whatever?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Yeah, I miss it. Of course. I think, you know, when you take a big step in a big chunk of your life, I was the happiest I'd ever been in Arizona. Mm-hmm. And I think you can't let those feelings get in the way of life, man. I don't know. It's you have to be able to experience it, and if it doesn't work out, I think if you don't stick it out, I don't really have a lot of respect for people that will go for like 6-7 months and do something and then dip out because, you know, it didn't work out. I think usually a year is when you can like call it quits. Okay. You know, you got to stick it out, man. Mm-hmm. Like, especially if you're a little bit older, that's not enough time. Because when you move, man, I mean, you're figuring out everything. New social groups, like you said, I didn't know anybody here. Zero. Yeah. I knew 0 people here. So it was like, but you act like it, like you won't find people.
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, it takes time, and it can feel pretty lonely for sure. But I've tricked my brain to knowing that is just what comes with the territory when you move. Mm-hmm. Like when you move to a different place, it's new streets and it's new everything. Yeah, and it takes a lot of energy, but it's completely doable. So, you know, it's just a matter of how soft you want to be. Yeah, I mean, you just can't hesitate with that. I mean, if you understand the opportunity and everything makes sense, then it'll all pan out. And if, you know, the first year for me, I think was a little tough, you know, for sure. But not in a sense of like I was miserable. It was just, you know, didn't really have a lot of friends, and I still don't have any friends. But, you know, I was learning the roads and learning places to eat and who I wanted to surround myself with, and then the stresses of a job. Yeah. You know, the stresses of, you know, those early reputations, those first impressions and shit. That's those all factor in. I don't, you just, and if you fail, it's okay too.
Yeah.
You know, we don't celebrate that enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can move for a year or two or whatever it is and it didn't work out,
now you know. At least you did it. At least you're not going to be like, 20 years down the road, you're not going to be like, oh, I wonder what would happen.
I try not to think like that until I'm like there. It's like when I'm, 90, will I look back? Of course you will, man. Like I wish I was a professional athlete 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, but at least you can say that you did it.
Right.
You traveled,
Yeah, I think, there's a lot to be said when you do stuff like that, and you'll be proud. I think, at the end, the last thing I'll leave you with is you'll feel pretty encouraged knowing that you knocked it out. Like you'll feel, even if you like completely fell on your face, you'll be like tight. Like it's kind of like out on the other side of fear is whatever the quote is, is like happiness or some shit like that. Great storytelling, JD. You're on fire. All right, we'll end it here, man. Episode 17. Yeah, episode 17 of the It's Always Something podcast. Merch in the store. Buy what you can. Like, subscribe, rate, comment, do whatever you want. If you weren't going to do it before, what matters now? We'll see you next week. Peace. Deuces.